What is going on, guys, and welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. So tonight, I want to talk about salinity tonight. I've know a lot of people, like I know the general people, like you got 35 parts per thousand is kind of your target, or 1.026 specific gravity. But when it comes to it, there's lots of little things that kind of catch people up with salinity. One, I know like there's temperature compensation. So if you're testing it, you're testing your source water and it's cold versus testing your tank. I mean, there's little things like that that can throw it off. I mean, there's differences using a hydrometer, which is the most accurate thing, but a lot of people tend to use those before you graduate to refractometer, or when you want to step it up a little bit further, you can use a conductivity meter. Like on my tank, I have the one on my Apex. So I have Terrence on today because we want to talk a little bit too about using the conductivity meter on the Apex. And that's one I see some people have a little bit of issues with it. It's kind of sometimes that one's a little more sensitive to interference or if there's little bubbles in there. So I figured it'd be a great topic to kind of go over today. So how are you doing today, Terrence?
Doing great, doing great. Happy to be here. I like your little chat, so thought I'd come out and try to help you with this.
Excellent. Always good to have you. So question with on the Apex side, do you get many questions coming in about the Salinity Probe and conductivity on your side?
It's probably one of the most common issues or questions that we have, that come in for the Apex. I mean, there's probably a top five, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah. Now, I was actually going to go find all my little salinity testings. I only managed to find the refractometer before I started. But so first basic one, hydrometer. A lot of people still use these. These are the ones that usually come free with a tank kit, or you can pick them up for $5 or $10. But they're basically a clear tube with like a little swing arm inside. And the higher your specific gravity of your salt, the more dense it is, and the higher it makes that little bobber float. Now, those tend to be not the most accurate things in the world. They're very susceptible to air. Any little things in your water are going to throw that off. So, not the most accurate thing in the world to use. Refractometers, these are by far like the go-to for most people. If you don't have one, I mean, you can pick one up as cheap as say $20. So I'd highly recommend one of these to pretty much everyone out there as kind of a minimum for making sure your tank's in the right.
Yeah, and I've got a lot to share with you guys here on all of these things for sure.
Okay, yeah, feel free to jump in if you want to go as I go. So
I mean, if I could stop you, I mean, I think that
by all
the
means.
first thing for people to understand, I mean, first and foremost is what is salinity, and how has it been measured in the hobby up till today, and really understanding what it is important, because up until today, most people have been hearing about something. Oops, we lost this.
Back in business.
There we go.
Perfect.
So most people have used specific gravity, and that's because in the early days of reef keeping, that's all you really had, right? I mean, you floated this little thing inside the water, right? And it had a long tube on the top with a bunch of measurements on it, and you floated it in the top of the water, and it told you what specific gravity was by basically how buoyant it would be in the water. And then you have to adjust for temperature and many other things. And then from that point, we went over to using these hydrometers, which is basically the same thing, but with kind of a pre-understood weighted little needle in there that also was buoyant in the water. And it's important to understand that what you really want to do is not so much measure the specific gravity in the water. You want to measure the amount of stuff that's in the water other than the water itself. And for that, it's really a proportion that you're looking for. And so when many people we talk to say, Terrence, why doesn't the Apex measure in specific gravity? It's because, number one, it's not relevant, because really what we want is not an estimation of what's in there from the specific gravity, but we want to know based on really the proportion of salts, different types of ions or elements that are in the water. And that's where the 35 ppt comes from. It really means 3.5%. Because it's 35 parts in 1,000. And inside that 35 ppt is not just the salt itself, the sodium chloride, but a good number of other things that we all measure for that are in the water that comprise it. So anyway, that's why scientists, they only use ppt. It's what's called a practical salinity unit. It is the de facto standard for measuring salinity. So now back to the devices that you're talking about. the hydrometer, the floating hydrometer, the swing arm hydrometer, those things are archaic and they're not really used anymore. So you talked about a refractometer that uses light that refracts through the water, and as we all know, puts a little line on a grid. And they're not, even those are not all the same. So it's really important on those to know that, yeah, the one I'm using, first of all, has a scale that's made for the temperature of the water that I'm really using, which is not 20 degrees Celsius.
Yep.
Which a lot of the $20 ones that you're talking about have scales made for 20 degrees Celsius. They're really, the ones at 25C are really what you should be looking at. The other thing to note too is that light affects it quite a bit. Also, the calibration is super important. We can talk about that a little bit. And also your eye's ability to discern between one hash mark and another is not really as great as you think it is.
Yep. I've noticed too, same thing, like you're saying, how the light's important. Like looking at daylight or an LED or a CFL bulb, like each different light source is going to change that reading a bit. That could be an extra tick off in either direction just from using a different light. So consistency, even what you calibrate it to, you should try and test in that same kind of situation. So.
And consistency, I mean, this is the key to reef keeping in general. So the first thing I would tell people is don't get all caught up in trying to be exactly at 35 ppt or 1.025 or 1.026, because although it's important, what's more important is that your tank is not fluctuating every day or every other day from 1.0 to 0, okay, if you're using specific gravity, which you shouldn't, or from, let's say, 31 ppt to 35 ppt or 30 to 35 ppt. That's what you don't want to have happen. But if your tank is running great and it's running at 34 ppt, that's fine. Just keep it around 34 ppt, maybe plus or minus, I don't know, 0.8 is probably just fine.
Yeah, no, stability really is one of the biggest things. I mean, most stuff will adapt to a certain extent as long as it's not crazy swings back and forth. I mean, that's what really annoys tank mates and fish and corals and absolutely everything in your tank. Now, with the temperature wise too, like you're saying earlier, a lot of the cheaper ones are calibrated at 20 degrees where, most of our tanks are 25 degrees, for instance, right? So if you're testing cold water that you freshly mixed straight out of the RO unit versus your tank, that's also going to give a, that could be a few ticks off as well in your reading. I just threw water in the fridge for fun and compared it to the tank, and yeah, I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely a few points off just from the temperature of the water. So that's something else you got to consider.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it makes a big difference.
Now, as for the digital ones, okay, so the Apex, for instance, you guys use a digital.
Well, let's not leave the refractometer for a minute here.
Okay, back to it.
While we're there.
Yeah.
So the important thing to understand so far is, train yourself to use PPT, okay? Because it's way more accurate. You get much more levels of granularity in it. And if you're going to use a refractometer, you have to know how to calibrate the refractometer. You can go out and try this yourself. Take your refractometer, take a reading, and then just kind of drop it from 1.5 inches off your table onto the table. It won't hurt it. And then take another reading. And you'll see that it'll be way off. And then you'll go ask somebody, oftentimes at a local fish store, that, hey, do I need to calibrate my refractometer? And they'll say, yeah, put some RODI water on there and adjust it. And that's not what you should be doing if you want to have accurate results. Whenever you calibrate any device, you want to calibrate it to standards that are near the values in which you're going to be testing. Because it may, the device itself may not swing in linearity, right? So, so you want to get some sort of a solution, some sort of a standard that is made for doing that. A couple come to mind. There's one in a little white bottle that you may have seen. It has a little dripper on the end of it. And then the one that I prefer, because you get so much of it, is the Accuracy from Julian Sprung's company from Two Little Fishies. Both of them are rated to be at 35 ppt. It's very important that you close those tightly, because if they evaporate, obviously the standard's going to change. But yeah, you put that on there. You look in whatever light you're going to normally look at, right? Obviously, I don't recommend doing it right in blue light. You won't see anything. But if there's a little tinge of blue in the room or whatever, that's fine, so long as that's always the way that you do it. And then when you're testing the water, you do it the same way, and you're going to get similar results.
Nope, that's a very good point. I know I see a lot of people calibrate to RO solutions too. So, I mean, they're only like what, $4 or $5 for a little bottle of 35 ppt solution, so it's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yep.
it's, I mean, you get a ton of it. And then there's a little screwdriver that's generally with the refractometer, and you just
Hmm.
adjust it until the line hits 35 ppt, and then you stop. And it's not really that hard to do each and every time you want to use that device.
And great point on dropping it. I mean, if you get that thing a good smack, it's going to throw off your reading. So recalibrating often is definitely your friend.
Absolutely.
New refractometer
So
day. Almost
now
gone.
you're talking about electronics. So
All right.
I told you to stop until I got through that, right?
No, that's fair. I think you pretty much covered most of it. Hey, out of curiosity, how much of a swing have you seen versus like cold versus tank water of a reading? Because I know
I mean,
some.
it depends on the temperature of the water. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll swing 10 ppt. I mean,
Hmm.
it absolutely will. It's very important if you want an accurate reading to, to have the whatever the calibration solutions that you're using be similar temperature to the water that you're testing in the case of an electronic one.
So okay, here's a random one for you. So the refractometers that say they self kind of calibrate to temperature, you put your water on, you're supposed to leave it for 30 seconds. Do you think that works very
Mm,
well?
yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah,
I ideally you should probably even float that little bottle in your tank for 5 minutes before you test with it. That'd be probably about as close you could
yeah.
get
If
it.
it's
So.
close to room temperature, it's going to be.
Hmm.
Look again. What we're looking here is to make a consistency in the way in which you do things.
Hmm.
If you have a consistency in your process, the only thing that you're doing is you're affecting accuracy slightly, but not precision.
Hmm.
And that's really important to understand the difference between precision and accuracy.
Yep. Well, so if you do it wrong consistently.
That's pretty much it,
Yep.
right?
No, exactly. All right. So on to digital conductivity.
Okay.
Okay. So you like before, I kind of see that one pop up a lot, and you're saying that's one of your kind of top ones too. I know.
Yes.
So what's kind of so for me? I mean, the few things that I've had when it works awesome. But there is certain things where it can be susceptible to like air bubbles, for instance. You don't want it in your, your return pipes or in your skimmer chamber. Like certain little things like that, you can go a long way to helping it give you an accurate reading.
So the first thing to do
Yep.
is to understand how these devices work,
Mm-hmm.
and why often a non in situ conductivity reader like the like a Hawk or a Hannah or whatever, where you put a drop of water into it, seems to always work just great. It's because in situ or in the water, in place, right? You have all these bubbles, and what happens is that the way a conductivity probe works is it has a couple of platinum like electrodes inside a tube, right? Just like these two pen caps, and
Mm-hmm.
they have a fixed distance between them, and there's a charge of electricity going between those two elements, and the ions are basically going back and forth between uh, those two electrodes in the solution. And if there's any bubbles that are on that electrode, it's going to be impacting the number of ions that are more or less being counted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's taking up surface area of that electrode. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, and what happens is that bubbles, especially small bubbles, and especially the smaller the bubbles, they tend to they tend to not be able to resist the surface tension,
Mm-hmm.
and they will stick. And after a while, a few of them might coalesce and go away, but often that doesn't happen as much as you'd like it to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at, it's hard without more visual aids here, but when you look at a conductivity probe that sits in the water like ours, it generally has two holes in it to let those bubbles out. But they want to resist, basically leaving just like you look in the side of a glass after you pour water in it, you got all those bubbles up the side of the glass. You tap the glass or you tap the bottle, and a bunch of bubbles, release and go up to the top.
Mm-hmm.
So with an electronic conductivity probe and using it, let me back up a step. So when it comes to electronic conductivity probes that sit in situ, like ours, okay, in the water, there are a number of things in the environment that can cause them to read incorrectly. The microbubbles is probably the largest culprit of it. But there can also be electrical interference in the water itself, electrical interference in the air, electrical interference created by wires near the wire that's carrying the signal from the conductivity probe. All of these things can cause, a bad reading in the, device or in the apex. So to tackle the bubble issue, the best way to do that, first and foremost, is to see where you're going to get bubbles. Number one, when you're calibrating, you can't see inside the probe and you can't see inside the calibration pouch, right? So when you put it in there, it's in air, you put it into the bag, it often traps a bubble inside the probe. And so in order to prevent that from happening, you want to tap the side of the pouch. If for some reason you did not dislodge that air bubble and in the calibration you said, okay, it's settled, you basically have now told the device that 35 ppt is something that's really reading lower than 35 ppt because it's got that bubble there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Now, when we take that probe and we take it out of the calibration solution and now put it in the tank water, and then there isn't a bubble, well, then that's going to look not like 35 ppt, but maybe 45 ppt.
Yeah.
Because it was calibrated with the bubble.
That makes sense. Another kind of quick thing too, when I calibrate, so there is a hole on the side of the probe. So I always put that in so the hole's up and then kind of give it a couple taps. So give you a little place for any of those little air bubbles to escape, and do it at an angle as well so that actually flows
Exactly. That's a very good point. So you put it in an angle, you put it down in the corner, you make sure the bubble is up, you tap it a couple times with your finger lightly. Do not wrap it on the side of the tank to dry it off or to shake the bubbles loose. If you do, you will break the glass tube in there and you'll be out about $125. It happens a lot. If this thing drops, if you drop it out of your hand onto tile, it's going to break. And so just be careful when you're tapping it. And then, after you calibrate it, if it goes in the tank and it's reading low, that's generally because there's an air bubble on it in the tank.
There's another question from Aquarium Cabinet Solutions. Do particles also affect the reading the way microbubbles would?
Absolutely. I mean, not so much particles, but things that might grow on the probe, right? So it doesn't happen that much. I think maybe because it's because of the electrical current, or I have no idea, but they don't tend to crud up as much as some of the other things in your tank, but they will. I just had the other day, I had something finally credited up enough that it affected my readings down to, it was reading at like 25 ppt. I soaked it in 50-50 vinegar water for about an hour. Took a soft toothbrush to the end of it, shook it around in the water, put it back, in the tank, and the way I went.
Okay, so vinegar and water won't hurt it. I mean, that's all the.
No.
Are all the probes safe to clean that way?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to leave them too long in a vinegar solution, like the pH or the ORP probes. But it's okay to put it in there for 10-15 minutes. It'll soften anything that's on there. Take a soft toothbrush to it, and then put it back in your tank.
So Reef Community Worldwide is asking, how do you know when it's 30 when you put your refracto and calibrate to 35?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I think if it's off, I think he's asking how you do it. Yeah, I would want to calibrate the refractometer not with your tank water or with actual calibration fluid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then there's those little packs of the 35 ppt solution.
And
you can
let me tell you, there's something to be said for having two different brand refractometers and even two different standards, and making sure you understand what reality is before you doubt the numbers that come through, let's say on the Apex. And as I said before, if it's 34.8 or it's 34.6, it's really not any noticeable difference. You're thinking it's a bigger difference because now you're looking at it digitally. But if you do the math to go from I think it's, I have to go back and look, but I think a half a PPT is like 0.0004 in your SG scale.
Yeah,
it's not even something you can see.
So it's something that looks like a giant swing on the Apex graph. In reality, it's probably nothing.
Exactly. And if it can be very normal for your tank, for you to think your tank is at 35, it's really at 34, it's fine, and it actually swings throughout the day between, say, 33.5 and 34.3. I mean, it's not, that's not what you're looking for when you're looking at salinity. It's not something you can, because again, remember, back to what I was saying, this is 3.5% of your water is that. About 15% of that are these other things, which can fluctuate during the day as well. And then you also have slight temperature fluctuations that can only be cooked out in the compensation a little bit. I mean, it doesn't cook them out completely. So you have you are going to have some variance here.
So there's a question there. Can you use 35 ppt solution to calibrate your refractometer to calibrate the Apex probe?
No.
Nope.
No. Your refractometer is to be used with the tank water, which has all the different salts in it. The calibration fluid itself is a calibration fluid for calibrating a conductivity probe at a particular number, which is 53,000 microsieverts, and it has to do with conductivity, not the salts in the water.
Okay, so there's a specific. Okay.
Yes.
That's good to know. Another one was saying Apex started at 35.4 3 days ago. Now it's at 38.7. Refractometer shows 35. So that could be from interference.
I mean, again, nobody's going to believe me when I say you probably aren't doing something right with your refractometer, and they'll probably hate me and everything else. But all I know is that there are so many variables that happen when you use a refractometer, from people's eyes to the light to so many different things. And the only thing I can say is if you really like what if you want to absolutely go, you know what, hey, yeah, the Apex is wrong. It says it's 38. I know this is 35. This is my 35. Then you know what? Don't use calibration solution in your Apex. Use your tank as the calibration solution.
I've done
and
that.
That's your 35.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine to do that. And there are instances where that is a very valid thing to do. But it's also a strong chance that if you keep using your refractometer the way you do, which is the way you calibrate it, and you see it as 38, at 35, the Apex is, outside of a normal drift that's going to happen because of your salinity or what have you, it's going to be spot on. It really is. I mean, there's enough people I know that use it and use it accurately to know that it can. Now, you mentioned the interference issue.
Yep.
There's certainly a possibility for that. It's usually not going to be something that's nascent that just comes along and then kind of goes away. It's usually going to be aligned to something environmental or in the aquarium setup itself. And if that's the case, you should be able to find it by shutting everything off and just having the Apex on and be able to see it that way.
Yeah. Just for fun, I just pulled up on my Apex, just how we talk about the difference, how it looks like in the swings. If you look at it, you can look at it like, oh, my salinity is going up and down like crazy, but really it's like 34.15 to 34.6. Like, it's such a minuscule thing. That's probably the difference of the auto top off kicking on and evaporating.
But I'm telling you now, I have many customers that call in and they're like, yeah, this is not right. My refractometer says it's 34.2 and there's no way it's 34.6 right now.
They couldn't even see that their eye between half a tick.
I understand that, and I'm not trying to be completely dismissive, but again, we have thousands and thousands of customers, and we get this topic comes up all the time, and the majority of the time it's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding of how to measure salinity, how to use a refractometer, how to calibrate your refractometer, a calibration issue with the Apex, a bubble, and then more rarely interference. I mean, I have interference on my tank. I have an ABIZ A400 on my tank. Alex from ABIZ knows. I told him 2.5 years ago that it interferes with the conductivity probe, and that has to do with the fact that it's a high voltage DC switching power supply on their pump. It's an awesome pump, but yeah, when if you turn off the ABIZ pump, boom, I'll get 2 ppt rise in my tank. And it'll change with the variability too. So if I were to take my tank to 50% instead of the 74% it runs at, then it would change my salinity as well. There's not really a fix for that. The fix for me is turn the pump to the speed that I'm going to be running it at all the time and calibrate my probe with the tank water.
Yeah, makes sense. Respy was asking, can you ask what is the TC temperature compensation factor and should we ever change it? It's in fusion.
Yeah, really what that is that is generally going to be somewhere around 2.1 to 2.3. It's a way to, to basically level out it's a factor that goes in to level out your salinity with the temperature because it's naturally going to change with the temperature, or the reading will, and that factor helps basically smooth the curve. That's all it does.
Okay. Now,
So you can change that factor to zero point 0.5 if you want, and then watch your salinity, and you can change that factor to 2.6 and watch, your salinity, and you're going to see, how it smooths out the curve. That's all it really does.
okay. So is there any purpose to doing that or just for fun, just for yourself or?
It's just basically so that when you look at the salinity, right, you're seeing the actual or the closest to actual value compensated, for temperature.
Okay. I was just checking. Mine's at 0 right now, so that's curious.
Yeah. So that's why if you look at yours, go ahead and add the temperature onto that same graph,
Yep.
and you're going to see the exact correlation there. And now if you were to put in, say, 2.1 or 2.2 for temp comp and run it for another 24 hours and do the same thing, then you can see how it'll smooth out basically the temperature.
Okay.
I mean, the salinity.
All right. I'm actually just going to overlay temperature now because you got me curious. Yeah, there you go. So does big correlation with temperature. So for the most part, the salinity jumps, and then the temperature jumps shortly after. I mean, that could just be a delay in it, but the curves do match up pretty good.
Anyway, so again, the other thing too is the microbubble issue. I can't tell you how many times we'll have somebody on the phone, or I'll see somebody at a trade show and say, "I swear there are no microbubbles." There's no microbubbles, my son.
So
I have it. I have a Series 402 Trigger XYZ specifically designed to keep microbubbles from forming.
So
And I say, no, you absolutely have microbubbles. Shine a flashlight in the side of your tank, okay? And, if you do that, then you're going to be able to see the microbubbles through the side of the tank.
So on that note, I know a lot of us actually purposely put microbubbles into our systems.
Shame on you.
Hey, there's lots of benefits to it.
Show me the science.
Oh, I'll have to get Cruise on one day. But
Science.
science.
Proven science. I'm going to go with Rich Ross on this one and be a skeptical reef keeper.
That's fair. We'll save this one for another day. Actually, it's a little bit relevant since it can affect the salinity reading.
It will.
So
if you let those bubbles get in there.
Okay, so just to humor you for this one. So what's the purpose of a skimmer? You create bubbles so that you lift out the particles and skim them out of your tank, right?
Okay.
So if you're injecting microbubbles into your tank, you're essentially turning your tank into a big skimmer, so it brings all the leftover bits up over into your overflow where the skimmer can grab it easier. So like nanobubbles, I guess, not
why does the
microbubbles.
skimmer grab it easier? The skimmer's getting the same water down below.
It's helping kind of bring stuff to the surface to go through your overflow easier.
Okay, I might buy that.
That's kind of my general thought of it. It basically makes your tank, somewhat of like a giant skimmer. Like I have some that run at nighttime, like super tiny, like pinhead size little bubbles at night. And it aerates, it boosts your pH, a few little things like that. So
well, that will do. Yes, that's definitely a benefit.
Yeah. Okay. So just curious. Let's read in the chat. Aquarium capsules, I can argue that. Flotation. The sea. There's your science. Waves crashing. I don't know.
Sea is my science. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell you what. Let's bring myself and Rich Ross into this conversation about microbubbles, and then we'll.
Okay, let's do it on a future stream. This will be good. I got a few people that are huge proponents for it, and I mainly started doing it for just the bumping my pH at night factor. But there's other little benefits that I've seen from it, so I'm just curious.
I've only been doing this for about 10 years, and I can't tell you how many of the things people have seen a benefit from that now. If I told you them, you would laugh like you can't believe.
I mean, a lot of stuff out there is anecdotal. You think you see something, but One other thing too, this is a little bit off topic, but when people do stuff to your tank, you got to make sure you only change one thing at a time, and
Sure.
wait a few weeks for you to do something else, so you can actually, if something changes, something happens, you can actually pinpoint it to what it was, rather than changing something every other day, and then which one affected it, who knows. So
Sure. No, I agree with you 100%.
yep,
In doing that, even that's not scientific, but yes, I agree with you.
yep, no, that's fair enough. Scientific as it gets for hobby level.
But anyway, back to the microbubbles. If you are injecting tons of bubbles into your system, the best thing you can do is probably one of the things I saw just recently on one of the Facebook groups. The guy actually took a filter floss, blue filter floss pad, and constructed like a little wallet that he could then, or pouch that he put over his 4 probes, so that up to the water level, and so that microbubbles basically could not enter, but all the water could.
Interesting.
And I thought that was a pretty clever solution. A very common solution that successful people that I know that use the Salinity Probe in an environment where they can't keep out all the microbubbles is to take a small power head and to point it at your probes. And that basically creates enough water motion that the surface tension, the bubble isn't going to be able to hold on with a little bit of current.
That's a good way to do it.
Even a little bit of current.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick just said it like 18 times. So he said nano bubbles, not microbubbles. Just throwing that out there for you, Nick.
Okay, nano bubbles, microbubbles.
Yeah.
Any kind of bubble that gets into a conductivity probe is going to cause it problems.
Okay. I don't remember if I asked this one, but one that scrolled by a few minutes ago was if dosing near the probes affects it. If it's the same kind of chamber that you're dosing calcium.
Oh yeah, you dose anything near any probe, and you have a ton of potential issues. I've seen many of these sumps and various designs on even. I think I saw a probe holder built by some company that had dosing tubes right next to the probe holes, and that's just bad idea, because I mean, think about it this way: you're dosing a high ionic solution right next to, in the case of a conductivity probe, a couple of electrodes that are sending electricity back and forth. What do you think is going to happen? Yep. I mean, you have
Come on in solutions.
So it's basically that, and it's going to basically create a plating situation on those electrodes.
Nope. Oh, yep, no problem there, Ravenclaw.
Karen's putting the smack down on bubble scrubbing.
I
don't know about that.
Terrence needs to know we're talking about different bubble types.
Yes, okay. So what is the exact size of a nano bubble, and what is the exact size of a microbubble? If you put your micrometer on it, I want to know. Better minds want to know. Or does it take like the birch wood out of a Norwegian forest to create the right kind of microbubbles? I'm sorry, nano bubbles.
Let's see.
I'm sorry, pico bubbles. I use pico bubbles.
That works too. 0.01 is the smallest I can get this thing, so I don't know. I go with the size of what a pinhead. Like you can't see it unless you shine a light in on it. That's kind of my scale of bubbles. That's my quantifiable answer.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, for me, boosting pH is one of the big things from it. That's the whole reason I started doing it. But you do see corals. Yeah, supposedly, the little bubbles will help the release its slime coat easier, and a bunch of theoretical potential benefits to it. But
I understand there's some theoretical benefits.
Yep. Okay.
I'll be the first to do it when somebody releases a little bit better science. I don't have to try it on my Reef. Are you kidding me? I've already got something that's successful. Have you seen pictures of my Reef? It's successful. It works. I don't need to nano bubble the heck out of my tank. I just don't need to. It might work for some people. They might make it better, and maybe they've got some anecdotal evidence. It's great. I'm not sliding it that way. Go ahead and do it. It's just not scientifically proven.
Yeah. Okay. Nick, we'll do another stream dedicated to the bubbles. Okay. Okay, so another question from Eric in the chat. When calibrating the Apex pH probe, it passes 7 and 10 solution, but does this automatically mean the probe's still working to its full potential? I'm getting high pH readings, I don't believe.
When calibrating the Apex pH probe, sorry, I'm reading it, passes 7 and 10 solution. Does this automatically mean the probe is working at its full potential? At the moment you calibrate the probe, at that moment, if the probe is obviously a good probe, it should read exactly what it's in that last solution, which is 10. You take it out of that solution and put it in your tank, it's going to read what the tank water is. Outside of something being wrong with the probe or wrong with the hardware itself, it's probably an accurate reading.
Now, as
Now,
for
again, if my
yes,
probe
sir.
is reading 9.8 in my aquarium, I'm probably going to go, yeah, this is probably something else going wrong here.
So, is there a certain frequency at one should calibrate a conductivity probe, or is it just whenever it starts to see oddball and not what you'd expect?
You know, my whole way of utilizing this particular technology is to understand it in relation to my aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my aquarium says it's 35.5. Okay. I've looked at my refractometer. I just went out there this morning because I had an issue in my aquarium downstairs. And so I went out there, pulled out the refractometer, recalibrated the refractometer, put a sample on there again, went outside again, looked at it outside. Oh my gosh, it's 34 and a half and it says 35 and a half. Well, guess what? 35 and a half for me is always 34 and a half.
Yep.
It is. Now
Mhm.
I could go ahead and try to tweak things back and go calibrate it in my water again and see that it's accurate and everything else. I don't. I just spot check my tank, once every 2 weeks to a month. And you know what? If it's on track for where it was before, great. If it's not, I kind of understand where it is, and I
Mhm.
look at many different things going on in the tank. I'm not going to tell people to go out and do water mixing stations based on what your conductivity probe comes in at.
Mhm.
It'll get you kind of there, and there's just enough other things that can interfere to mean it's going to be something I'm going to rely on to automatically, let's say, add salinity, create water and put it in my tank. That's
Mhm.
just not going to happen. It's not a reasonable expectation because of the amount of things that can go wrong. It's not the fault of the Apex. It's not the fault of a probe. It's going to be pretty much that's the way this technology works.
Mhm. Yep. No, that's fair. Actually, before back in the day, I debated doing the exact thing. Never happened, but
The
so
what?
oh, I debated doing that exact same, trying to automate mixing salt water, but yeah, I never did go down that road.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun experiment, but
Mhm.
it's something you're just going to end up testing with your your you're not gonna trust it anyway. I'm not gonna trust it anyway, and people are gonna say, "Oh my God, Terrence said he doesn't trust the Apex." No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that a tool is made for certain things to be done with it, right?
Mhm.
And the greatest part of the salinity probe is all day long, every day when I look at my when I look at my tank, if something's going to go wrong with my auto top off, right?
Mhm.
One way or the other, it's not topping off my tank, or it is topping off my tank. It's going to go off. Now, am I going to look at it and go, "Oh my gosh, it's off by a half a point"? No, but if it's off by a full PPT, I'm going to start to go, yeah, I can see this, start to rise up right here. What's going on?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just that. I mean, what happened today? I can give you the anecdote of what happened because
Mhm.
it's somewhat interesting. My big skimmer downstairs started overflowing. Obviously, there is, and the reason I went down is because my salinity probe was reading like 35.9 or something like that, and it's usually
Mhm.
35.3 or 35.5. So I'll go take a look, see what's going on. So I went downstairs, and the skimmer's overflowing. There's foam coming out the top, and water splashing. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would that change what's happening? If anything, it should make my tank less salinity because water might have got out of the tank, and then my top off add to it. So I
Mhm.
pulled the foam cover off, and lo and behold, underneath it looks like a bubble bath, right? And because all this crud and everything from the skimmer overflowing is in the sump, and then I look over at the auto top off at my ATK, and the foam bubbles, right, are up
Mhm.
on the ATK, but the water level's like 2 inches below.
It's covering the
So
sensor.
yeah, so
Yeah.
exactly. So it thought that it was full. It wasn't
Mhm.
full, and it was actually about a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch lower in my sump.
Mhm.
So that's why you use these things, because you start to get a real feel of a couple of different numbers or something in your Apex is a little bit different than it should be. Something's not quite going right. I mean, I literally go downstairs once every 10 days about
Yep.
to mess with my reef.
Mhm. Now, another thing too, earlier we were talking about the difference between accuracy and precision. Like for the most part, I don't really pay too much attention to the numbers. I more just use it for like trending. If
Hmm.
something's outside of the normal, like where your tank works, and kind of the thing. Also, you see a big swing in one direction, that should be more or less of an alert to maybe go check it out and see what's potentially off.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
this is really the rule of thumb, in my opinion, for most things that you're looking at in what again, in situ or probes that go in your water. I mean, temperature is the one that's the exception to that, which is temperature is
Hmm.
usually spot on or pretty close to that, and it's also when it goes off. it goes off sometimes very quickly and has super bad results. So it's the number one reason why you have an Apex is for temperature related situations.
Yep.
But the rest of it tells you quite a bit if you just learn how to kind of, it's the Zen mode of your Apex and your aquarium.
Interpret it.
Yeah.
Random thought. That clock has very long arms behind you.
Yes, it does.
Those are very long. Okay. Reefkeeper was asking, my sump has the probe holder built into the Refugium area. I often wonder if having an Apex probe with the Chaeto was a bad thing.
So what is that again?
His probes are in the Refugium area with his Chaeto. His sump was built that way, and he wonders if it's a bad idea having it in that chamber.
No, I mean, it might, depending on how close it is to what's happening with your Cato, it may have a different result, but most people's sumps not. I mean, mine it might because I have a pretty large sump with not a lot of flow going through it. So if I had located it, within 6 or 8 inches of, the 8 cubic feet of macroalgae that I run, it probably would read a little bit different. But I think in most people's situations, it's not going to be any different.
Okay. So apparently they really want you to build wave pumps for a nano tank.
Okay.
For smaller tanks.
Well, that's good to know.
Microbubbles is bubbles that is micro. That's impeccable logic there, Reef and Libeater Aquatics.
Microbubbles are micro?
Yep. It's
Okay.
impeccable logic. Question.
Do you pick them up and measure them,
Yeah.
It's like, I pull out my little, okay, let's see here.
Oh, good luck trying to measure that.
Ugh.
You
Okay.
can get the bubble to stay still and go down to 0.01 of a millimeter. If you could fit it in between there. That's the only hope.
Okay.
Question, do you work on prob for salinity, something more reliable?
Is this what discussion we're having?
This is one of the questions I bring in the chat. What exactly do you mean there, Tomer, on that one?
I mean, I think what he's saying is that the one that we have sucks, and we're going to have a better one. I think that's probably what it comes down to. No, I think at the end of the day, it is the one we have is really good. I think that there are things that people could have or could do that would cost them probably maybe double the money, and nobody would want to pay that anyway.
That's fair.
And environmental situation of picking up conductivity is where the biggest problem is. That happens with this, along with people's misunderstanding of how different things work.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, too much bubble talk. Okay, in the next few weeks, I'm going to do a stream on microbubbles. There's far too much of it going in the chat right now.
I thought nano bubbles.
Micro, nano bubbles, sorry.
Yeah,
I keep reading micros in my head.
I want to make sure.
Yeah.
The nano bubble police are going to get me.
Yeah. Do you want to join that stream when I do it?
Maybe I can get Rich Ross on.
You should.
Probably not. I think he's in Palau right now, but yeah, he's Mr. Skeptical Reef Keeping.
Yeah.
And if you read any of his articles, they're really good. And he's not a fan of like different devices and solutions, liquids and things to add and whatnot. So he likes to see some sort of proof. Now, one of the interesting things is, I don't know if any of your viewers are following along with what's happening over at BRS, but we sponsored a big set of tests that BRS is just undertaking right now, where they're doing some testing to real testing. I mean, very well done scientific testing to determine things like, I think there's 4 different things they're trying to determine in one set of tests. These are all independent tests with 3 different aquariums. So they're running, 12 or 15 different aquariums. One of them is, how does flow affect, all things being equal, coral growth rates. So they're going to have a bunch of frags in there, and they're going to be weighing the frags and all of that. Another one is trace elements, how that affects it. Another one is, what is it? The light spectrum. And then the 4th one, I'm going to forget, but anyway, it's 4 different things that are kind of always come up with people, and they're going to make just one small change between the 2, watch it for over the period of time, and measure the weight of these different frags that they'll be growing in these systems, and see see what really changes, see
Yeah.
what makes a difference.
No, that's actually a really cool series. I watch those ones out on the weekly basis. I love when they actually dig into it in the scientific side, because I know most of the stuff is theoretical and anecdotal that we come up with. So
Excellent.
yeah, excellent. So in the chat, any other Salinity
I
or
love that.
Apex related ones? Hi.
Aquarium Cabinet Solutions. Who's the person there? So I don't have to call it by Aquarium Cabinet Solutions.
His name's Nick.
Nick. Okay.
Yep.
So Nick says that's okay. Bring him. I'll take him on as well. Oh man, that's definitely a challenge, and that's all it probably takes with
Yeah.
Rich.
All right, challenge him. We'll get him on. Nick too. Nick's been doing the bubbling for many years. He's a huge supporter of it. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Cruz from Elegance Coral is another one that's a huge supporter of the nanobubbles.
No, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
sure in certain environments, they probably are seeing some results from it.
Nope.
It's now applying that across the board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Nick Chan's his name. Much shorter than Aquarium Cabinet Solutions.
Right. Right.
You're on my messenger, Terrence.
I don't know. It's Aquarium Cabinet Solutions. I know Nick Chan. I don't know. Why don't you go by ACS?
ACS?
You know?
It'd be easier to say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little mouthful. Aquarium Cabinet Solutions. We know about aquarium cabinets.
Make your tank look good. Nick, too bad you weren't closer. I need a good cabinet.
I do too. I need somebody to come out and skin my big old one on mine. It still doesn't have any woodwork around it and the canopy. So
yeah, I right now on mine, I just took like cabinetry plywood and painted it black. But I think when I do my slight mini upgrade, I'm gonna get like the, what do they call it, the laminate stuff they use on counters, and maybe just get some thinner boards covered in that and use that and make a nicer version of a stand. That's the current plan. We'll see. I'm sneaking in they're warrantying the glass on my tank, so I might sneak in a mini upgrade about 5 inches wide or taller type of thing. So that should be good.
yeah, it'd be nice.
All right, guys. Any other?
It says Cruz, Terrence, Nick, and Rich. Would love to see that stream. It's funny.
All right. Are you in, Terrence, if we do it?
It depends on how my schedule goes. I got a ton of stuff. We're getting into the crazy season right now, but in general, yes, I'm up for it. I
think that'd be a fun conversation.
But somebody better line up their actual, testing and data and whatnot, because Rich will just rip them to shreds.
It's a good one.
But in my tank, I've done it for 3.5 years, and look at my corals.
Yep. So you need the 2 side-by-side tanks. We'll get that in the BRS study. 2 tanks side by side. See if there's any difference.
Yeah, I'm sure. Ryan's heard about the microbubbles thing. I'm sure.
I know. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the space in enough identical tanks to be able to do a lot more of these tests, but it's fun.
I love this. Nobody would get a friggin' word in. What, are you saying I talk too much? Nobody's ever told me that before.
Nick talks a lot too, though. Oh, it would be good. Oh, the people are loving it. Yeah, we're going to have to do it one day. I think it'll be fun.
Oh, there's Eric Shevkit again. Okay, this one never ends. Why do we pay so much more for Apex gear in the UK?
Do you want me to answer? Do you want to answer?
That do I have to answer anymore? It's,
it's your guys' funny plugs.
Ultimately, it's the nature of living outside of where stuff is manufactured. Many times there's plenty of examples where this is the case. First of all, your government's going to screw you for 20% right off the top. It's 3.5% import duty. Then your stores there have higher overhead than our stores here. So they tend to not like to get just a small percentage. They like to get a much bigger percentage. Then we have to have a distributor as well, because stores will not buy direct. They only buy through distribution. So now you have to add in a little bit for distributors as well. So when you start to add all of those things up, those things happen for many different products all around the world. So it's, it's unfortunate, but, we have to pay a lot more money here for a BMW than a BMW in Germany. Maybe even for a Jaguar.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, fair point.
So I just know that, it's not coming to us. I can assure you of that. The price we charge to our distributor is exactly the same price that we basically charge to any dealer here in the United States.
Nope, fair enough. It hasn't come up yet. I'm sure it will, but any updates on the Trident?
Working on it. I
Yeah.
mean, we have guys just in the other room on the other side of the wall here. They're working on it right now.
Nice.
And it's definitely coming along. We're working towards production right now.
Yeah, excellent.
And when it's ready, it's ready.
Nice. That's good. I'm excited for that one, so it'll be good when that one's out.
So am I.
Yeah.
I'm a reef keeper too, so.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, good.
See, now Nick can't get in here. He's like,
He's just itching.
like, Terrence, there is a way. Sell it through me. I'll make it cheaper. Sell it through Aquarium Camera Solutions. That'll make it cheaper for everybody.
That's probably true.
You guys have cracked me up. I'm telling you, the UK guys, I love them to death. Seriously, for any of you guys that are on the stream that are also out there pinging my Facebook page out there for Neptune Systems and whatnot, I love you to death. I get it. I understand it all. I'm not here to screw you guys. Okay. Really. And there's plenty of reasons. I get it. We can't have an energy bar 632 yet over there.
Your plugs are too big.
There's a myriad of reasons why it just doesn't work for us right now. So I'm sorry.
So someone in the comments asked.
But I will laugh, and you guys will probably say, write this somewhere else. I guess it's a good time to be an American. No, I'm just kidding. Gosh, guys, just.
It makes me laugh because we get a lot of these questions every time you're on. So someone else was asking, where can we see his tank? So I know it's Reef to Reef. You had a big thread about it, right?
Yeah.
All right. What's the name of the thread? I'll put a link in the comments.
Yeah, far be it from me to brag, but
here it comes.
It is the most visited tank build thread on Reef to Reef of all time. It has almost, I think, 270,000 views, and I do like to keep it up to date, even with not just fish pictures. I do try to put a lot of hey, I did this, I tried this out. You might want to try this. Here's a little idea. This died, this did well, kind of a thing, to try to keep it, up to date at least every other week, if not every week, with some kind of tidbit. The URL you can get there to is.
I just posted in the chat.
Oh, okay. tinyurl.com/Fugazi425 is also the short version.
All right. Yeah, I just quickly Googled it and found it and threw it in there. So the full link, let me know if that works. I know sometimes YouTube buggers with the link, so if it doesn't work, let me know and I'll shorten it and try it again.
It'll take you a couple days to get through it.
It is a big one.
But it does have a Reef Savvy tank in there, which I got. It's an 8-foot long tank by 32 by 32. And obviously all the Apex gear on there. And I don't have to touch the aquarium very much at all. It's amazing how little work on this aquarium I actually do as far as maintaining it day to day.
So what's the craziest thing that you've automated on your tank? That was out of the box, something that you would see is not standard, that you thought was clever, that you came up with.
Craziest thing. Well, I would say I feed both my sulfur denitrator and my calcium reactor with my dose, which is not a continual dosing pump that everybody says you have to have.
So I have a question completely unrelated. Sulfur denitrator, do those actually work well?
Yeah, they actually work sometimes too well. It's one of those things that you have to watch. In my opinion, you do not run one unless you're running the ORP on it, so that you know how to keep it in the right zone with ORP, and that you can change the flow on it. It really makes a big difference. So on mine, I actually run the ORP probe in it set to pH, and that allows me to measure negative ORP. It's kind of a roundabout way. You can actually just switch the wire around, and basically your positive ORP becomes negative.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like hacking a wire up, so if you set it to pH, anything over pH 7. Every unit of pH is, I believe, 57 millivolt.
Okay.
Negative. So, for instance, if you had 9 pH on there, then it would be a negative 114. And I usually try to keep it around negative around negative 150 to negative 200,
Mm-hmm.
right in that range. And then the flow rate, I can basically, you know, keep it in that sweet spot
Mm-hmm.
by switching around the flow rate.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So you adjust your dose based on whatever your
Yeah,
conductivity's
the
quote
slower the
unquote pH
rate,
value is.
the more it'll basically drop the ORP in there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. One of my buddies picked up one from someone. It was this giant canister, and I had no idea what it was until he told me. So, kind of interesting device. Question: will Neptune ever sell their stuff on Amazon?
We used to sell our stuff on Amazon, not directly, but through the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
It creates some challenges out there with a lot of our online partners who spend a lot of money working to help build demand for the brand, as well as some other operational challenges with returns and other things. It just wasn't really the best plan for our brand.
Mm-hmm.
So we do not have our products out on Amazon. I mean, you might see a rogue product out there from time to time through some individual, but for the most part, they're not out on Amazon.
Okay. Okay, so Nick was asking with your denitrator, do you recharge the pH with a pH moderating pod after the nitrate reactor? No idea what that means, so I don't know if you do.
I don't really. Do you recharge the pH with a pH moderating pod after the nitrate? I don't know what that.
Never heard of it.
I don't know what that means. All
Okay.
I know is it works. Uh, I mean, it basically, you can check your output from the denitrator and check your nitrate level in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens so slow that, I mean, you don't want such a flow rate through there and doing so much that you just completely tank your nitrates to zero.
Mm-hmm.
Right, boom, there they go. I think my nitrates run somewhere around 1 ppm,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, 1 to 1.5 ppm.
Okay. That's pretty good. Another question: are you still running your calcium reactor off the dose?
Most certainly.
Yep. Excellent. Uh,
Yeah, most certainly. Again, I'm not marketing this in any of our material for doing this. And I guess I can't deny that I told people how to do it because I'm on here. But it's certainly something that you have to be aware of the limitations. The first of which is that it's going to be running generally at a pretty high speed, which means it's going to be somewhat noisy.
mm-hmm.
Especially because it's not going to just be on all the time at one level. You're just going to come on and go off and come on and go off. The second thing is it's going to wear out the heads faster than doing most anything else. I mean, I don't know, 90 liters a day through my dose.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's also a really great test for the longevity and the capability of the product because I am running it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So if you are running the dose to do, feed a calcium reactor or something, or it's running more or less continuously, how long do the heads last until they got replaced? Like, is there a certain expected life of them, or is it, is it a big difference running it slow versus running at a high speed?
Yeah, absolutely. When you run
Yeah.
at high speed, it definitely wears things out much faster,
Mm-hmm.
because you have a heat situation in there. It's rocking the thing back and forth. It definitely does. But at the same time, I've run, I think the last time I changed it, I had about a 7 or 8 month interval. So for me, 7 or 8 months, $30.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good trade off.
Yeah.
It didn't even break down completely at the 7 months. I just kind of went, it's probably about time.
Yeah, that's fair. Nice.
But it's
Business.
really nice because now, I mean, if you think about it, 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, people running calcium reactors basically set the bubble rate and the flow rate, and they're
Mm-hmm.
tweaking it, and it never worked right, and they threw it in their closet and they're done with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, then it progressed to where I can just tweak my my pH level in the calcium reactor and use something like the Apex to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right from your sofa. And now I can basically do both. I can tweak the pH level, and I can, tweak the flow level.
Mm-hmm. So there's another question. Will the Trident be able to control the calcium reactor or dosing only?
Don't really know for sure yet. My
Mm-hmm.
intuition is it's probably going to be dosing only,
Mm-hmm.
especially out of the gate, because there's just too many variables
Mm-hmm.
with the other. The fact is, too, though, is I mean, I don't have a feedback loop on mine right now with
Mm-hmm.
the way I'm running the prototype product I'm running.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, yeah, it's going to be nice to have it all be automated, but I also don't tweak my stuff that much. I look at it, I go, yeah, okay, it's, it's around 8.4 on my DKH, great. It's 8.2, okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
8.4, great. And if I need to do something, I just make a small change in my calcium reactor to, add 1,000, milliliters a day or something like that, and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Yep. So yeah, I guess that's an easy way to tweak it too. You don't have to walk down there. You can just quickly load up the interface
Oh,
and
I love it.
that's the
Yeah.
huh. So you just so do you how many milliliters a day do you do for your flow? Because if it's running continuously, do you just tell it to dose so much per day?
Well, it doesn't quite work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I actually have to have it set up in order to maximize what I want to do. I have to do it with profiles, and it works out. I think right now I'm doing 180 milliliters every 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Okay. Business reef tank. Will there be any counters added to the Apex to tell when to swap out dose heads?
It exists already. The volume does. I believe it doesn't have a reset though. I mean, we could do that. It's a good idea,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd be accused of, trying to take people's money because we're telling them too early that their dose heads are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to be a cynic there, but it's like, I mean, we could do that with your probes, and we've thought about that as well with telling
Yeah.
people when they need to change their probes out.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably something we should do, and yes, we could easily do it probably as a feature update.
Yep. No, that'd be cool. Even just a little notification, be like, oh, check on your wheels, make sure everything looks good or something. It's a little maintenance reminder. Subtle.
Yeah, that's what somebody else wrote up there, and it is. It's definitely that's one of the things we have thought of. I mean, trust me, there's no shortage of ideas of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of around a reef tank, especially when you have myself and Paul, who works for me in sales and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and Tom. We're all reef geeks, right? So,
Yeah.
we think of things all the time that we'd like to see or we'd like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it all has to, kind of be tempered with, okay, what's the resource level that we have as a company?
Yep. No, makes sense. And what's actually like big bang for your buck to proceed and put all that development time into? I don't know if Nick's trolling or not, but he says, when's the Neptune light array going to be on the horizon?
He's trolling like crazy.
I figured he
He's
does
trying to
that.
teach. He's trying to teach me about how to run a. I see it in here. How to run, the bubbles and how to set up my sulfur denitrator and all of that. I see it.
Any plans to fix the cellular chart issue? No idea what that one is.
Oh, somebody here told me some reason that it is that way or the other. I don't really know all the details of that. I know I've heard something about that, and I think there's actually two sets of numbers possibly out there, even with the Salifert kits, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm not completely up to date on it, but
I got nothing.
I maybe best thing to do is go out to the community forum again and keep pinging Russ on it or something.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick's trouble. On the salinity topic, did anyone else have any questions about salinity probes, conductivity, refractometers, where to keep your tank? Specific gravity versus conductivity, or not? Mind blank.
Somebody's like has to shovel the white crap. Sorry, I'm reading these
Yeah, I
comments.
know. It's all over the place.
They're they're making me laugh.
Good stream. Lots of good info. Have to watch again when I'm not shoveling 10 inches of snow. Yeah, you guys got a lot on the East Coast, so I hear.
Oh, it's an interesting concept. Maybe somebody else can tell me more about the Senai measuring the KH. I don't really know that much about it, other than there's a few different ways to measure DKH with some of these systems, and one of them is through the pH probe kind of way that we've seen. One of them is using the color change kind of methodology, and then another is is using the ability to measure CO2 and to basically calculate it out what the DKH is. I do know that last methodology can work, but it's highly susceptible to needing a very strong level of accuracy on the CO2 number specifically. Otherwise, it can throw it off tremendously.
CJ,
We'll have to wait and see.
thanks for the super chat, buddy. So CJ is asking, what are the advantages using the WXM module over the ReefLink and best ways to minimize outlets on the Aquabus powered outlets?
Okay, the first question is one, I guess the best way to talk about it is the integration. So the ability to have your all-in-one control in one app is definitely super, super helpful, right? So if you want to have a special mode, a feed mode, a party mode, an after hours mode, these kinds of things, being able to do it all from inside your Apex in one place is very handy if you're an Apex person. Wow, look how big it makes the text when he does his thing.
Yeah.
It's a $5 question, man.
Woo!
Where's my cut?
I'll buy a coffee when I see you one day.
There we go. Anyway, so the WXM, it does give you that capability. It also, for me, it strips out a lot of the other fluff, let's say, right? So that it makes it easier, in my opinion, to set it up and to adjust your settings than in the ReefLink software. That's me. That's some of the feedback that that I've been told. There's plenty of features in the ReefLink that are not passed through into the Apex, and it's intentional, really, that we didn't replicate much of that. But that's also to make it much easier. It's kind of like an Apple methodology, right? It's do we give you the little gear thing and let you tweak every little thing, or do we set it up in such a way that you can be successful very quickly out of the box?
Okay. Yeah, I just said you just bought a WXM, about to hook it up. To me, it's pretty similar for most things. I have both. I've had it on the WXM module for 6 months to a year. I've had the ReefLink for 6 months to a year. So really, I've done them both. I just changed them for fun, just to see the difference once in a while. But you can do, for the most part, the same things. The ReefLink's a little more drag and drop, where for your little modes at a percentage, where the Apex, you kind of drag it up and down on the graphs. I mean, super similar, but Nick, thanks, Nick. So Nick just $10 super chat. Nick, I better pay my trolling fees. Great stream, guys. You're totally trolling. Much appreciated there, Nick.
That's funny.
Yep.
His trolling fees.
He's totally trolling. I know. I'm like, what the heck's a pH pod? I've never heard of this. I'm like, this is made up. Thanks for super chat. Appreciate it, buddy.
At least he didn't say. Now, the secret to Pico bubbles is actually you need to buy this airstone. There's really only one place. We actually mine them in Iceland. And there's only one place that actually has a permit to bring them back into the UK from Iceland. Now, just so happens my uncle
is the only distributor.
Yes, is the only distributor.
Yeah. On the serious note, you actually do want the wood airstones if you do want to do it. Okay. So,
see?
Yeah. So CJ's second question: best way to maximize outlets with the Aquabus powered outlets.
Best way with the Aquabus powered outlets.
Are you referring to like the 24-volt plugs you can run like the dose and the power heads and some of that stuff off of? I'm kind of guessing, instead of using the physical outlets. Is that what you're going for, CJ?
Yeah, I don't know what he's exactly.
I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. But on the side of the newer Apexes, there's those 24-volt ports. Like I run my dose off that, for instance. I believe I do anyway. So you don't have to use the power plug. There's certain ones like that you can use instead of taking up an outlet. So you do get to kind of sneak in a few more plugs if you have those 24-volt accessories.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna run a dose, you can spend a couple of dollars and save yourself running the power supply and the Aquabus cable.
Yeah. The other thing I do for certain items, like if you use a splitter cable, like I know actually here. Like for instance, I have the whatchamacallits, the MP40s in my tank. And I use one of these. It's just like the splitter cable, so I can power the 2 power bricks off of one. So I have one outlet for my MP40s, for instance. Like there's little things you can do like that too to max. Because I have two. I have an EB8 and an EB832, so I got 2 of them down there. So I mean, just ways to maximize outlets.
Boy, you're earning some money on this one, man.
No kidding. Woohoo! Eric,
Jeez.
please give you Eugene Berg a
Quit your day
job at
job.
Neptune. I wish one day. It'll take a lot of super chats to actually quit.
Eugene's a great guy.
Yeah.
Eugene is a really great guy, and he's certainly a super control freak, no doubt. And helps out on the Facebook group to answer lots of people's questions. And I have other people out on the community forum as well that do the same kind of things. And we appreciate all of you customers out there who kind of share your knowledge with the rest of the the noobs, the new people who are out there getting apexes and trying to learn how to do things.
Oh, definitely. So thanks, Eric. I guess if he gets hired, there you go. We can help support his first lunch break.
Yeah.
Yeah. So CJ, you were saying you're trying to run your whole tank off one EB8. Biggest thing, group similar things to a certain outlet, right? Like you have the radions, I believe, in your tank. Like I have all 4 radions off one plug, right? I just use one of these, like a 4 splitter plug, and they go with one plug. As long as you're not pushing too much power through the plug. I mean, LEDs or certain like low voltage stuff. If they're the same item, then I group them. So that's one thing you can do. If you have the same power head, at the same side, I mean, maybe you group those together, right? So certain things you can do like that. But yeah, so there you go. Business run radions, IP40s off 2 outlets. Finn got a DIY wrench. Yeah, I see that icon. He's trying for one. Okay, wait. So I think Nick actually sent me a photo of this nitrate pod he was talking about, so I have to look.
Okay.
Because I have honestly never heard of that. I totally thought you were just BSing making that up.
He said pH pod.
So he goes, a sulfur chip nitrate and pH moderating pod. So apparently they are tubes full of some type of media.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, when I have a problem with my pH, then I'll go look that up.
I've never heard of that.
Just don't eat the pods.
Yeah, can't be good for you. Awesome. Thanks, CJ. Hopefully that answered all your questions. Do MP40s even need to be plugged into the EB8? Not really.
No.
If you want feed mode to turn off your pumps, then sure. Otherwise, no, they don't. I mean, you can control them all through, if you have the WXM module, you can control them all through that. So, I mean, you don't have to. I have absolutely everything running through mine just because I like the fact that I can pull up my phone and turn stuff off if I want. Or you can automate it remotely. Can Terrence come on Tech Talk tomorrow with O? You have to ask Terrence on that one.
I don't know what that is.
I think Reefing with Ode was doing kind of like a techie talk, reefing related stream once in a while.
Has he reached your volume yet? Your incredibly huge volume of viewers? Because I don't, with talent like this, I mean, no, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I try to do one of these every couple of weeks. It's about as much as my schedule can allow. I'd like to be able to do more of this kind of stuff because I like interacting with all of our customers and all the other reef keepers out there. It's definitely something I enjoy doing. I like that it's informal, and I hope that when I say things in jest here and I give you guys information, you take it as such, because it is a very informal kind of environment for me.
Terrence is only a fellow hobbyist right now.
Yes, yes. I try not to pitch stuff, either. I try to respect that because it is kind of a fun little get together. And you got, what was the peak today? I see 40 up there right now.
I'll check in one sec. It's about 62, the peak.
Good, that's actually really good, man.
Thank you. I think my record is 96. Michael, super chill. Mike, this is a great stream today. I appreciate this, guys. Thank you very much. So Michael, interesting chat, Dev. It's no secret I'm on the fence with this product, but great streams like this help educate me. I'm not on Team Apex yet, but I'm getting closer. No, awesome to hear, Michael. Honestly, I do love the Apex. Do you need one? No. Does it make your life easier? Yes. It's just all like the little things like fail safes, right? Like your temperature goes too high, it shuts off the temperature. If your pH jumps, you're like, oh, shut off the doser. Maybe something's happening. Like there's all these little fail safes that just give you more peace of mind out of town if you're gone, or just do stuff so you don't have to do it. I automate everything. I love it. But
here's the way to look at it from my perspective, without trying to sell, is in this hobby, you're going to have a catastrophic failure at some point. No matter what you do, you're going to have a catastrophic failure. The whole objective you should have is basically putting that off as long as possible. And anything that you can do that helps you put that off as long as possible, and it can be the way that you do your maintenance, the way you set up the tank originally. It can be having an Apex. It can be, buying quality equipment. There's all of these different things that can basically push that off, maybe off to 10 years or 8 years or 12 years, whatever it is way better than most people who don't have a lot of fail-safes in their aquarium. They will have a catastrophic event within 18 to 20 months. And there's actually been some surveys and stuff done on this. And it's just the nature of the way things go.
Yeah. It's good to, yeah, fingers crossed. So far, no catastrophic failures, but it's good to know those stats. Honest K, throwing this out there, on the whole failure thing, heaters sticking on is probably one of the biggest reasons I see tanks crash. So it's always good to have a backup. First thing, if you do get an Apex, first thing, use that temperature probe as a backup. I let my Apex control it, turn it on and off so it's more precise than the heater, and I have the thermostat on the heater set just like a degree or two higher. So
super important right there. I'm going to stop you. Super important. Yep. Anybody who watches this, anybody who's on here live, if you've tried to save yourself $27.50 by getting a titanium heater element and plugging it directly into an outlet and letting the Apex control it, you're setting yourself up for a failure. And the reason for that is because there are a myriad of things that might not even be a failed Apex that could cause that outlet to stay on, and you have no other backup protection. The idea of running an Apex for your heater is to have another layer of protection.
And everything you can possibly do, think of it like a double protection, like fail-safe it, right? I'm going to give you a plug on this one, but so I have the ATK on my tank. You have your dual optical sensors, but you also have a float valve in there, right? And it has a third level. If it runs too long, it can shut off. So there's technically like 3 different levels of protection from it flooding your tank. With the heater, like you set, the temperature probe to shut it off at, say, whatever, like 77, 78 degrees, and then set the thermostat on the heater itself to 78. So it never gets used. It's not going to wear out easily. And it's basically like brand new, right? The thermistor never kicks in. So the one time the plug ever stuck open or something else happened, then it would take over and do it. So, and then another thing, like instead of using a 300 watt heater, I have 250 watt heaters. And 90% of the time, only one's ever on. But if one fails, you still have that second heater to kick in and keep your tank stable. It's not going to drop all of a sudden. So there's all these little things that add up. So anything you do on your tank, you want to make sure you can ideally have a secondary backup. All right, there's my spiel.
Why is it that American Reefing wants to keep his mouth shut?
I don't know. I probably missed a comment somewhere.
Okay. It just says, there's a bunch of emoticons that show the guy with a zipper on his mouth.
I don't know. What else? Oh yeah, someone else was their wish list item I saw scroll by a few minutes ago was for an Apex connected like CO2 monitor or something so you know when your tank is empty. I don't know if that's ever a product that you'd ever guys.
I'm sorry, I was reading. I was not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
I was reading some of the comments. I go ahead and say that again.
Product wish list. An Apex connected kind of pressure gauge, so you can have it in your CO2 tank and know when your tank's empty, or get alert for starts to drop.
Again, think of how many people would actually use that. You think? In the big picture, I mean, would I? Yeah.
Everyone with an Apex.
Would you?
And
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but how many people run calcium reactors?
I don't know. I'll do a poll.
Thing is, but again, it's going to be kind of self-selecting there. We tend to be around many people like ourselves. It's just the human nature, right? So I'm around other reef keepers who tend to have aquariums just, in the same kind of category as mine, like you, right? And of course, that's the case. You run a calcium reactor. But when you take a look at the entire population of our customer base, it's a very small number compared to the number of people who use power heads, or the number of people that use a skimmer, or the number of people that use, many of these other types of products. A light, a return pump.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Someone else was asking about how do you prevent it with a titanium heater. I think the whole idea of not using a titanium heater is to use one that has its built-in thermostat. So you're using that as a backup, or you're primary in the Apex as a backup. I prefer the Apex control because it's more precise.
So I know a lot of people don't tend to like glass aquarium heaters. I don't exactly know why myself. I mean, unless if you're able to put them in a place where they're not going to get banged around and they're safe and everything else, they generally are really, really successfully used. Now, the reason that they before were kind of crappy is because they use a bimetal thermostat in them.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is the bimetal thermostat, obviously when it heats up and cools down, that's what brings the contacts together. And as the contacts get closer and closer together, eventually it arcs a spark across there, and they eventually fuse together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually a bad thing. Well, when you run them on an Apex, you run them 2 degrees higher, so they're always connected anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're never really pulling them apart, so they don't really have a chance to fail because they're not opening and closing all the time. So I find those, Jaeger, type heaters to
Yep.
be, one of the best, most economical, and actually they work just fine type solutions out there. I've had more problems with some of the less expensive thermostatically controlled titanium heaters than I have with the Jaeger heaters.
Mm-hmm.
I run both.
Yeah, I run the Jaegers too. I mean, for the price, they're very solid. Melanie, thank you very much. Great info. Love my Apex. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. American Reefing. Oh, Dev, tell Terrence with his little zip mouth. I was explaining that I love your stream as apologizing for being distracting. I've learned a lot, and Finn put me in a 5-minute timeout. Oh, fair enough.
Somebody timed him out? What?
Apparently.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know if they actually did. But yeah, there's in the chat, there's a few people with moderators, and I guess you can put people in timeout if they're being bad.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Good.
Glass heaters can crack, explode, nasty stuff. I use glass heaters. I've never had an issue. I mean, I don't really know how you would smack a heater in your tank unless it's in there with a bunch of live rock. Or if the chamber runs dry and you put it in water, I mean, that temperature difference will crack it. But don't put it in your last chamber with the return pump. Always make sure they're in a prior chamber that's always full of water, and not a bunch of rock in there, and you'll be good to go.
Well, plus titanium heaters and some of those other plasticized heaters, they're full of junk too, and I think more fish have been killed with those than have been killed with glass heaters, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
With the stealth heater back in 2010, I think it was 2009, 2010, that were exploding all over to the flat. I don't know whose brand it was. Heaters, 3 years ago or whatever. I think there was a very famous YouTuber that lost his stingrays, his freshwater stingrays, to that. So I think every heater can have its issues.
Yep.
I just, I tend to like those, and I know that, I have a ton of respect for somebody who sells a lot of very expensive stuff, like Ryan from BRS does. And if you ask Ryan what heater to use, more often than not, if it's going to be controlled by an Apex, he'll tell you the glass heater. If it's not, he'll tell you to use one of the cobalt type flat heaters because they maintain a more consistent temperature.
I've tested those too, and at least for the smaller tanks, I'm a fan of the cobalts because they're super thin and they're dead on, like less than half a degree fluctuation. They're very tight tolerance in the temperature grade. So I've used them in all my nanos. I actually ordered one for my current nano. I just haven't.
But you do still have a problem with any of those that are built like that too, because they do have nasty stuff inside. So, a lot of those. Not saying the cobalt ones do, but that kind of a heater, and they're fused together with with ultrasonic welding or however they do do it, and they can come apart too in the tank.
Yep. DM's Reef tank, the Apex. Can you hardwire the new wireless one? Yes, I believe there's a network jack as well as Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And I would always recommend running a wire if you have one in the area. It's always more reliable. But
I absolutely do too. I say it all the time. And then many people say, see, even Neptune says that you shouldn't use their Wi-Fi. Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you have the ability to run a wire, run a wire.
Yep. Even like, for instance, my smart TV, I ran a wire to it just because I know there's less issues. I mean, there's less loading time, stuff's faster, less issues. So always run a wire if you can. Wi-Fi is nice, but there's always stuff that interfere with certain signals, and it's a better way to go. Along the lines of glass heaters fail, also for conductivity probes, do you suggest Aquarium grounding probe, and will it affect the readings?
I don't really know.
Never used one.
That's my answer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Never bothered with the grounding probe, so.
I've heard positives and negatives from both sides on using grounding probes. So I don't know. I don't use one. I haven't used one. I hear positives and negatives of people saying to use, the GFCIs as well. So
yeah, I have a GFCI. I do agree with. I mean, I put one on
But
the
there's
wall
people
beside my
who'd
tank.
say not to do that too, because then if you have an issue, everything in your tank shuts off when you're not home, and there's reasons every which way.
Yeah, no, very, very true. That another completely random thing I'm just throwing out there since we're talking about redundancies a bit. Battery backups. I think that's a big thing for flow in your tank. I have a ridiculously oversized battery on mine, but something that will keep the flow going in the tank for days if I had a big power outage. So something else to
Well,
consider.
I personally think that when talking about these kinds of solutions,
Mm-hmm.
you have to take into account where you live and the types of reasons that you might have a power outage. Probably, in the United States, probably on the order of over 90% of the people are not going to have very often a
Mm-hmm.
power outage that's going to last more than 36 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, most of them, even from that, not more than a day.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's these certain areas which do have recurring issues like hurricane zones. And those people, the best thing to do is have something that's going to last you a day,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to have a generator.
Yep.
So outside of a day, in my opinion, there's not really a reason to have, to have any kind of a battery backup solution that's going to last more than that, because you're going to be on the generator by then.
I just did it because I had a giant battery laying around.
There you go.
But yeah, just for fun, I think I threw it. It's 147 amp hours. So
147 amp
oh, it's
hour.
huge. It's like a data center, like massive, massive battery. So
Yeah,
it can run
I
my
guess.
return pump and power head for probably about. I think I worked it out one day. It was around 5 days. I could probably get out of it.
Yeah, that's a big battery.
And I've never had a power outage more than like an hour or two, so it's a little overkill. But I got the option.
And then you have that's just hooked up to your 12 volt on those on
Yep.
those.
Yep. So, yeah, so it powers the return pump and the MP40s, and then I didn't bother with that. And then I have the Apex that has the 12 volt port on it, just so I can still get alerts. And then all my internet stuff is on just like an APC UPS, so I'll still know when stuff goes happen. If something goes out, then at least I'll get a text saying
What
the
kind of
power's
return
out.
pump do you have?
Vector M1.
Oh, so you have to have like some sort of a little thing on there or something, that little
It's
power
a,
pod thing that they
yeah,
have
it's a little battery booster or whatever to boost the signal from 12 volts to
with
24,
DC to
36 or
DC
whatever it
converter.
is. Yeah. Just catching up on the chat. To be careful with emerald crabs; they can kill some coral. I've had a bunch in my tank. I've never had an issue with them, but yeah, I've heard stories that some can go after
I think they
things.
do more good than bad, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yeah. I'm probably gonna actually pick up one for the nano just to kill those odd few bubbles that pop up once in a while.
I got some crazy crab in my tank right now.
Yeah, what is
So
it?
I don't know what it is. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, it's grown like it must have hitchhiked on something. I don't know how, because everything gets dipped and everything else. It must have come
Mm-hmm.
in like, like a little itty bitty thing. And now, like the head on it's about an inch and a half, and it's shaped like a teardrop, like that,
Yeah,
um,
that's kind of
and
crazy.
it's got these big long pincers that go out and then back. With like the front part of the pincers are
Mm-hmm.
long, with the little pinchers on the end of the
Yeah.
long pin, and it's all fuzzy, and it's a mean looking son of a gun, man. It is.
Do you know what it
It is.
is? Like a
No idea.
gorilla crab,
I gotta
or
trap it.
huh?
No, it's not a gorilla crab. I know what a gorilla
Yeah.
crab looks like. This is, and like I said, it's got this. The head is shaped like like a teardrop kind of
Mm-hmm.
shape. It is mean. It looks like something from outer space. These big long legs. It's now probably with its legs probably about 3 inches around.
Oh, that is big.
So
Dang.
I need to trap it and get it out of there.
Yeah, that's a big guy. Snap a picture when you get one. I'm curious to see this thing.
I've been wanting to. I can't see him. He's really shy. He
He
comes out
hides.
sometimes at night, and
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I hit him with a light or anything, he just slowly creeps back into the shadows.
Nice.
I'm
The,
wondering what else he's gonna be eating in my tank.
oh, there's
And
probably.
and it's possible this thing could get like a foot across. Who knows? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it could be. You never know what kind of crab it is.
You'll come in one day and this giant claw comes around the side.
Seriously, no doubt.
Oh. Okay. Question: DJ's Reef. What's Terrence's favorite Apex add-on, and what's the best selling one?
Hmm. Well, if I told you the best-selling one, I'd be giving away like secrets. But as far as I think, let's see. I think, okay, if I was starting out on my aquarium and I didn't already have some of the gear, the first thing I would buy for my aquarium would be, before I'd even have an Apex, would be an auto top off. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the ATK is
Yep.
definitely something that I would get there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, The next thing is that if I had a tank that was there, of course I'd get our return pump because
Mm.
it's also runs standalone. I'm not trying to create a commercial here. He asked the question. Um, Once I have my Apex, if I already had those things, I would say the next thing that I would do is probably purchase the leak detection kit
Mm-hmm.
because it gives me the FMK and the two sensors. And that with my ATK, now I got like 4 ports that I can play with.
Mm-hmm.
And I can put more leak sensors or more optical sensors or, more flow sensors. I've got all of these options for things. And leaks are probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah. That is one I do not have.
Well, you kind of have it because you have the FMM with the ATK, right?
True.
What we try to do is make it simple for people to have their buying, their purchase decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So rather than say, oh yeah, go buy the FMM and then kind of figure out what, little add-ons you want to go with it. Well, yeah, there's a lot of advanced people like you that might be able to figure that out, but the average user, the
Mm-hmm.
average guy walking in the store just goes, yeah, I want to be able to detect leaks. And so we put together a little kit, save a couple of dollars from buying the stuff separately, and get 2 probes and an FMM.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. I was actually, what I might do, just with one of those extra ports, is one of the flow sensors and just put on my emergency drain, just so it tells me if it ever leaks. Either that or do an optical sensor. I think I kind of
Mm-hmm.
talked about that one before. One of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
two.
yeah, for sure.
Yep. When will the core be back in stock?
You should be hitting the
Yep.
stores by the end of the month.
Okay.
That's the way it's looking right now.
Yep.
We do have the drivers are made here in the U.S., but the pump motor and pump motor block is made overseas,
Mm-hmm.
which is no surprise. And as such, there are certain holidays that get in the way.
Mm-hmm. My clavish. Okay, so American Reefer. I'm in a power outage right now, being out for over an hour, being serious. My clownfish manually turned my wave maker. Not being serious. Okay, good. So about an hour. Yeah, an hour is not too bad, but generally, I mean, flow is the biggest thing for me. If the power is out, nothing else is working. Just have a little battery, like a wave maker on a battery, or even a little air pump, just something to move the water in the tank and make sure it oxygenates it for anything more in a short-term power outage. Got an answer. Cuban Reefer, I'm not quite sure what part you're having issues with the salt
Yeah, we
salinity
kind of
probe.
already went through that a little
Yep.
bit, so you might want to, when we get done with the live chat, go back, rewind,
Mm-hmm.
and watch some of that. Or I will have an upcoming video here in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
Hopefully, I'll have it done.
Okay. So I'm going to take a wild guess on this one just before you answer it. But he was asking if there's any plans to update the display module, maybe a Wi-Fi LED screen, touchscreen. I'm going to guess probably not, because most people can just use a cheap tablet these days or your cell phone, which is all I use for mine. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I generally don't like to comment in too much detail on what
Mm-hmm.
we are going to do or not going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I'm pretty safe in saying no, we're not going to be having any major update, or I should say, maybe I can clarify a little better, a more advanced version of the display screen going forward. It doesn't make sense. I mean, there's so many options people have that they either own or they can purchase that are going to far exceed what we could do for a much better price.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know. I see a lot of people too. They'll just use like a cheap Android tablet or something and just let it run Fusion. You can buy like the Amazon ones for like $70, and then there's a cheap display for you and stuff like that. So,
Now this is the one I love right here.
yeah.
Apex got me. I went from what I thought I was going to get to why not get the Apex? Then why not get a core? Oh, then why not get an ATK? And then why not WXM?
Why
Well,
not?
now I have them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Warms my heart.
Yeah, making Terrence happy. What do I got? I got the newer Apex only because I know I want the Trident one day, and then I kept one of my old
You mean the power
EV8s.
monitoring doesn't give you anything?
I do like that. I do appreciate that.
That's totally worth it.
Yeah,
Actually, that's what I just shot the video on today.
yeah. No, I do appreciate that. I might do a video on that one day too. But power monitoring is nice. I do kind of use it to control non-Apex stuff too, so I can use non-Apex devices to trigger Apex things. That's the other kind of big thing I like about that. It allows me a different way to integrate with stuff that don't play nice. Okay, so Cuban Reefer, when the check mark when doing the calibration, the settle check mark goes immediately, but the second thing to settle never does on min. I think he just means it takes a while for the second check mark
Yeah,
to
and
settle.
I know that there's an issue sometimes with that for some people. You can go to the manual calibration. You can select manual calibration and go that way, and that may help you out.
Okay. There you go. Hopefully that works. Business, will Fusion ever have tabs? I know there's another question I saw a while ago. What if there's thoughts on adding more columns to display stuff?
Again, if we do anything in Apex Fusion, it's going to make it simpler, not more complex.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing I can tell you on that. I don't know if tabs will be the way that it'll happen. Probably not, I don't think, because I don't know that that's a way to make it simpler. Again, we have to, you guys have to understand, we have to walk a really difficult tightrope, which is we have to create tons of features for our enthusiasts who have had the product for years and who are on the, on the cutting edge. They are super important to us. And I mean that sincerely. That said, they account for a much smaller percentage of the customers out there. The larger percentage of customers are people who are a much more average reef keeper, right? They have the 90-gallon tank. They have somebody who helped them set it up, but they manage it themselves now. And, it's a different kind of reef keeper that is the majority of our customers. And so part of what, kind of our mantra is less hassle, more success, right? So we want people to be able to enjoy their aquariums, to be able to use the Apex, and for it to be a very simple, way of interacting with it. And that said, I do know there's people who run multiple tanks, and they've got tons of modules and other things, and so we're cognizant of that.
Yep, no, that's fair. I do say the newer one's much easier to set up too compared to just the calibration and everything. It makes it pretty walks you through it. I've set up probably about 4 or 5 for other people now, but yeah, it's a pretty quick and easy process.
Oh, I really like this Reef KPR comment. That makes another one to warm my heart. I've been reefing for 24 years. Apex is by far the best thing that's happened in the hobby. I have the gold and the 2016. Love the control. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being a customer, and thank you for letting us know, because so often we get mired down in a lot of negativity. And for people who are reef keepers here, like myself and some of the other guys here, who work really, really hard on this product, and we have a funny thing we read once online, those suits at Neptune, they just want to take our money, and these kinds of things. And we work really hard here to try to produce great products for people and to try to do what is going to make people have a better reef keeping experience. And so often we get mired down in negativity and people are having issues or this, that, and it is a small percentage, but it does. And so when you do hear the positivity, it's great. In fact, we started a new customer survey. It started at the beginning of this year. So you might be getting emails and to respond to whether or not you would recommend our product to a friend or colleague, and you can we want you to answer that completely honestly. And in doing so, we're marching through just a few thousand customers a month, and already we've got so much positivity from it that it really makes it feel good for us when we do the stuff that we do. And you can see that there's actually an Apex Love page out on our website.
Nice.
That I had it before with just a few different testimonials from our customers, direct from our customers. And after I got some of this feedback, I said, you know what? I'm just going to collect all this positive feedback and not going to edit it or anything. I mean, I'm not going to put the negative out there. Obviously, Apex Love. It's not Apex Hate. But I mean, you can see the volume of just real comments that come through, and see. I mean, I left in all the typos and spelling mistakes and everything else. It's just really kind of neat, and I appreciate getting that feedback, KPR.
Oh, very cool. I just found the page now. Actually, tons on there.
Yeah, it scrolls quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, I was just laughing. Did you read Pelfrey's comment?
Check the survey. Yes, yeah, I saw that. I saw his.
No, read up too.
Oh. Where did my sticker end up in the trash? Possibly. It's possible. It might be around here on my desk somewhere. My desk is quite a mess usually.
That was awesome. Pelfrey inspired me to make stickers one day.
It worked.
Keep calm and get an Apex.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that.
I'm a huge techie and I'm a huge automation geek, so you guys know I love this stuff and I love to automate pretty much everything I possibly can. I like to say some days I like being a lazy reefer, but at the same time I just like the tech side and I love to automate. It's more fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll spend 10 hours doing something to save me a minute a week just because I can. All right, guys. So I think we're an hour and 40 minutes. So I think I'm gonna call her pretty quick. If
I think so too, and
yeah,
at least for me, and it's kind of funny. We didn't get any. We don't seem to get any of the haters on your thread, or anybody that says, "Oh, this stuff is so overpriced. I should just use
I
a a computer on a chip, and I can solder three things together, and I'll have an Apex for $116.53."
I did build one before. It's not quite as smooth though. It's more of a pain to program and do stuff. I legitimately did make an Arduino one in the past.
Yeah,
That
sure.
yeah,
There's no
but
doubt it's possible. There's no doubt.
it's a lot of time and work, and it's not really worth it. But you can.
And at the end of the day, when you have a bug, you can't blame anybody else.
Yep. I don't know. It's just hassle. I don't know. But you get to a point where you just want to make things easy. That being said, I do plan on building an auto top off for my Nano sometime in the next week or two, like with an optical sensor and stuff. But
Yeah,
we'll
for
see.
sure. I've done that.
It's been on my to-do
I've done
list.
that myself.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, all right, guys. I'm gonna shut her down. Thank you, Terrence, so much for coming on tonight. Always
Absolutely.
appreciated. I
Absolutely.
always like picking your brain. You got tons
Push
of
out that thread on
experience.
Reef to Reef. Give a little love to Dave Hammondtree over there. Get some visits over on his forum to go check out my thread out there,
Okay.
and you can see some of the latest fish and other goodies I've got too.
Excellent. Okay, I just dropped that link again if you guys want to check out Terrence's Reef to Reef thread. Thanks everyone who came on tonight, and thanks Terrence for sharing some knowledge and experience.
Absolutely. Glad to do it. Take care, guys. Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.